happening, what was going on. Joe Klein, I mentioned this before the break. He was on Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, Washington, this afternoon, and she said, do people really think that Newt Gingrich is going to be nominee? Really, Joe? Do people really think Newt is going to be the nominee? Or is this just the latest iteration in the Republican roller coaster ride?
Newt probably is a more serious contender than Herman Cain was. Cain was clearly just a parking place, and especially after we started to attack Cain, then, Republicans, populist Republicans, decided to support Cain just to send us a message.
Did you catch that, folks? Joe Klein, that's especially after we started to attack Cain, then, Republicans, populist Republicans, decided to support Cain just to send us a message. We have to come up, I know I've come up with drive-by media and all this, but they're not even the media anymore. Most people, when you talk to them about the media, they think, okay, those are the people going to tell you the news. That is the last thing that happens anymore. This is not about the news anymore. It hasn't been about the news for a long time. It really isn't about the news. It is purely, entirely, totally the advancement of an agenda. There's not even any pretense at finding news. You know where the news is on cable networks? It's in the crawl at the bottom of the screen. That's where you find out what's going on in the world. That's when you find out if there's been a plane crash. That's when you find out if some kid's been kidnapped. That's where you find out if a bank has been robbed. Whatever the news is, if there's been a vote on a piece of legislation, you read about it in a crawl at the bottom of the cable network screen. There's no news anymore. The media don't even make any pretense. There's not even any mainstream press. It's just a giant White House public information office. Really, when you boil it down to something, it's that simple. It is that obvious. The idea that the media is about news is so laughable these days. That's one of the reasons I've been saying for almost all the 23-plus years behind the golden EIB microphone, I do the job the mainstream media used to do. We actually report news on this program. Now, I'm not a journalist, proudly stated, and I'm not a reporter because I laugh, I smile, but I'm also honest about my objectives, purposes. They're not. These people are literally administration spokesmen. Now, they've always been this way, but in the old days, and it wasn't that long ago, they tried to hide behind a delusion that they were newsmen, that there was actual shoe leather involved. These reporters are actually on the street hunting down stories. That doesn't happen. Even the documentary shows or the long-form news shows, the investigative journalists, those are seek and destroy reports. They're not. That's not news. I'm amazed every day. Stuff after my program is over, I'm amazed at the things people tell me when I read their emails, or maybe on a rare occasion run into somebody. Gosh, I didn't know what you said. I didn't know that was going on. I had no idea. And it was nothing special. Just simple transformation of events. There really isn't any news. Not in the traditional sense. Here's Joe Klein. Here, play it again. So Andrew Mitchell says, Newt, that'll make me laugh. Does he really have a chance? You got to be kidding me, Joe.
Newt probably is a more serious contender than Herman Cain was. Cain was clearly just a parking place, and especially after we started to attack Cain, then, Republicans, populist Republicans, decided to support Cain just to send us a message.
Well, I thought what happened was that some women came forward and said that Cain had sexually harassed them. And the media said, oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, we'll look into what you're saying, and we'll do some reporting, see if we can... No. What Joe Klein thinks happened here is, okay, we decided it was Herman Cain's turn, and we decided to start attacking him. And we enlisted the help of the women, and when we did that, Cain's supporters decided to support him even more just to send us a message. Now, somebody actually interested in reporting the news, that would be a shocking thing to think is happening, that the public to whom you're reporting the news is trying to send you a message. But, of course, this is another lifting of the veil, if you will. Klein letting us all know that the news is the last thing he's into. Reporting the news, that's what we're doing. We're advancing our agenda. We are White House stenographers. The news media is the Democrat Party's defense lawyers and the Republican Party's prosecutors. All rolled, and they are the jury. They are the defense lawyer, the prosecutor, and the judge, and the jury. When it comes to Republicans, they are the probation officer for the Democrats. They are the jail guards who always lose the keys to the cell, allowing the prisoners to escape, for those of you in Rio Linda. Barney Frank, before we go to the break, last night on Hardball, I wonder if Barney likes the title of that show. It's on there with Chris Matthews. Matthews, let me ask you about good and evil. Do you believe in it? Do you believe that we're all a mixed bag? Do you believe that there's some people like Newt Gingrich that personify one side of the Manichean struggle in our life? Now think of this question. Barney Frank, is there good and evil? I want to ask you about that. Do you believe in good and evil? Do you believe that we're all a mixed bag? Or do you believe that there's some people like Newt Gingrich that personify the devil? And here is Barney's answer.
I wouldn't call him evil. Hitler was evil. Saddam Hussein was evil. Stalin and many of his successors, Mugabe. In Gingrich's case, there was an unusually heavy preponderance, I think, of the bad qualities. He got Tip O'Neill furious because he used to stand, as you know, in the well of the House at a time when the TV cameras only showed the speaker and didn't show that there was nobody there. And he would say to empty seats, I say you Democrats are traitors, and if you don't agree with me, stand up and say so. Have the courage to say so. He was saying that to empty chairs. That made Tip change the whole way that the cameras were there.
He's talking about the special orders, and this was in the 80s, and this is where Newt made his bones. Do you remember those? Do you remember watching those, thirdly? I was working in Kansas City, and I'm telling you, I made it a point to watch everybody. It wasn't just Newt. He had some of the, they were called the Conservative Opportunity Society at the time. Dick Armey go in there, and Kemp, I think, was part, and they were, the House chair was, the chamber was empty, except for these guys. Standard business was over, but as long as somebody wanted to go speak, the cameras from C-SPAN televised. And what happened to those special orders was dynamite, because every day Ronald Reagan was being savaged. He was being attacked. This was the days of the Bolton Amendment, the Contras, the Nicaraguas, all of this stuff was, and Gingrich and the boys are defending supply-side economics. They're defending everything Reagan is doing, and it's what put Newt on the map. I had just, this would be 1980, had to be 1983, because that's when I left the Royals and went back to work in radio, and that's when this might have been 82, but one of those 2 years. And it did, Tip did get ticked off, because it was effective. But Newt didn't do this stuff. He didn't say, stand up, you people are traitors, stand up and defend. He didn't do that. Barney just making this up. The thing about Barney Frank, I don't know anybody who thinks he's a nice guy. No, Barney Frank is one of the nastiest people that you'll ever run. Nobody, ask anybody, have never seen him in a good mood. They've never seen him. In fact, in one of the articles praising Barney Frank to the skies, quoted him as saying, one of the advantages of me not running for office is I don't have to pretend to be nice to people I don't like. He's probably talking about the fishing industry, but who knows?